right back in as soon as we can. But Tempest has been running a lot of Dahaka, more so than more of the Korean teams. But we've also seen L5 use them in the matchup against MVD Black.
This means they are also going to surrender the Ragnaros, potentially, if it doesn't get banned out here in this next phase over to L5. We've seen a lot of attempted voids into smashes, which have been called several different names throughout this tournament. My favorite was the stop hammer time that we saw. I like that one a lot. But, you know, to be honest, just as an observer's perspective, in this tournament specifically, it almost feels like something wonky is going on, but we haven't seen the best synergy out of all teams, including L5, double back-to-back world champion in terms of landing that combo. So I think we're still probably going to see them get it if it doesn't get banned away here, but, you know, it hasn't been the most consistent combo, to say the least. But more than that, obviously, his ability to Molten Core can turn fights, and we've seen players start to realize very quickly early on as Ragnaros was released how well you can use that in pushing comps as well. You take out that enemy fort or keep, and then you immediately steal it, get a huge stun, and push everybody back. So, I mean, he's just so powerful right now. And when paired with Zeratul, he gets that combo potential as well.
Ragnaros is very versatile in this battleground in particular, with the ability to also help out the shrine. So, yes, you are correct with that point. I also think that that combo that you're talking about being missed more often, there's a couple of things that are happening. One, I feel like teams are getting better at pressuring the Zeratul whenever they go in for the Void Prison. If one or two members pops out, sometimes you used to see teams try to move back into the Void Prison or set up to make sure that they can zone and set up. We literally are seeing people chase down that Zeratul, which can make that timing be slightly off.
Yeah, it's tough to actually cancel correctly, you know, when this is happening, or also land void prisons when players start to realize, okay, they're going to go for this this combination, and I'm going to pressure that Zeratul. Not to mention that the ability itself has quite a large windup. The Sulfura Smash, it's not instant cast. There's this cast time and a large animation, so you really have to be on point in comms to make that work.
Yeah, Ragnaros trying to throw that hammer. It's pretty darn heavy. I mean, he's a strong guy, but he can't quite do it as fast as you would normally see. So, yes, now we have our Zeratul mixed up. In terms of other heroes that I wish we would see a little bit more of, maybe Sonya in this battleground, just because she's so good around the Shrine phase. But it really seems to be a thing in Korea that we don't normally see a new hero pop up. It has to be shown by somebody, and then everyone kind of adopts it. So, unfortunately, I don't think we'll see it today.
You know, I've been talking to a lot of Korean analysts throughout this event, you know, just over in Seoul, you know, the Korean commentators, some of the managers and coaches over there, and I've been asking, you know, if there's any secret tips or what's going to come out, you know, and it's been all quiet, you know. Everyone's like, well, what we've seen so far is basically what we're going to see. This didn't end up being the case in game number 1.
Sure.
Tempest obviously pulling out something super unusual. That's the kind of rarity, you know. I was talking about earlier, why are the Korean teams the best? They find a style, they find a meta that they like, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the rest of the world. So, or sometimes they take inspiration from Europe, which happened a lot at BlizzCon, and you know, has been said in interviews is happening in this tournament. They watched the Western Clash, took a lot of inspiration from Europe. They find a meta that they like, they feel comfortable with, and they perfect it. And if they're going to change something, it's usually after a patch happens or after a tournament, not mid-tournament. That's pretty rare for a Korean team to see a big adaptation in terms of who they're drafting, who they're playing.
Do you think there's ever a chance that we're going to see anyone in the top 3 in the Koreans actually become a little bit different, become the team experts, if you will, of the Korean scene?
It's tough to say. You know, Black was always heralded for their strong drafting, being above everyone else. Even going back to, you know, spring 2016, where they won and they were on fire. Everyone's saying, well, they're great mechanically, but also you can't outdraft them. It just doesn't happen. TNL, part of which became L5, was really known for their drafting as well and kind of figuring things out early. But it feels like kind of in Korea, everyone's leveled up in terms of figuring things out new. And because in 2017's Heroes of the Storm, we have so many games and so many matches with this round-robin HGC, it's hard to, if you figure something out first, hide it. Because teams start to use it really quickly. And
they adapt.
Yeah, so it's hard for one team to kind of be the quick thinker. But you can be the team to show a strategy first. And perhaps what we saw from Tempest will be further figured out later on Cursed Hollow, and we'll start to see that adapted and evolved if it works out later. So far, it doesn't look too good, but looks like our draft is back up, Trick, so let's jump back into this one.
Well, I'm excited for future iterations of that Cursed Hollow matchup that we just saw, but back into the draft, ETC and Zeratul were your first and second selection. Tyrael, Dahaka, and Malfurion were picked up for Tempest, and now we are looking at the ban phase for L5. Greymane becomes the obvious choice because of Tyrael, and it looks like that's being hovered now by L5.
That it is. And this is what Tempest has shown time and time and time again with the Tyrael. And it's a super obvious ban. And because it's so obvious, I think this is why we only see the hover currently for L5 as they go, is this just too good to be true? Is this too free of a ban? And so they're thinking, is this going to be something different, something we're not expecting? It's almost impossible to imagine that we have an Illidan here or a big melee bruiser with the Tyrael, because Dahaka's already on the table. It forced role swaps for Tempest. It's possible we see that and a Li Ming, and I think that's something L5 is considering. But as time ticks out here, we're going to see the Greymane locked in, as that is the more standard way to do it. And we'll see if Tempest wants to remove the Ragnaros here. Yep, they will, no question about it, it looks like, as we were talking about before that draft cut out on us. And now for L5, they're looking for potentially, you know, that strong range damage.
Looking for that follow-up. There's a couple of things that jump out. Li Ming, in particular, for Korea. Oh, I wish we saw more Jaina in Korea, because I feel like that Ring of Frost Zeratul combo could be so wonderful here, especially with that Malfurion always being aggressive in the Korean scene. But we haven't seen Jaina from L5 in weeks, it feels like.
Yeah.
So there's also the other option of Tychus that we've been seeing more and more often. Tempest and MVP Black have been running it more, but obviously there's still some strength there. Absolutely.
I mean, I feel like the Li Ming follow-up is more common right now. Let's not forget, by the way, it's gonna be Vala Ariel, because I was gonna say Ariel's still available. We could see the Vala. We're seeing so many solo Vala compositions. There's no extra support your material. Zarya and Tasta are removed unless we see like a Medivh coming through here. But I mean, let's not forget Jungha as well is one of the best mechanical players in this tournament. His Zeratul plays we've seen throughout have been insane. So that's also just terrifying in itself. This is not just an early Zeratul first rotation pick here for L5. It's a Jungha Zeratul in first rotation. So responding to that is going to be terrifying. Here's the Li Ming coming in. And Sylvanas, we haven't really been seeing a whole lot of her, I believe, twice in this tournament to very middling success. And this feels like old Tempest in a way. We saw adjustments like this from Tempest in summer 2016. Normally, of course, Dahaka wasn't really popular back then, but we saw Thrall sometimes mixed in. Dami didn't like to play it, so we'd see this with the Greymane, as we were talking about before, and oftentimes the Illidan when rarely available.
I am a bit worried for Tempest, because their shrine control is kind of mediocre. They have Dahaka who can do decent clear, but you normally want him on the offlane until that breaking moment actually happens. And Tyrael, while he can do alright with Smite, you do normally want him to be in the backline trying to bully out the opposing team. Where Zeratul Vala can be pretty aggressive around that shrine phase, especially when Vala gets her auto attacks going and she has those Aria heals just really being a battery for that hope. So this is kind of an odd strat for Tempest, with Li Ming in particular being her weakest battleground. But
Absolutely.
If they do get a shrine, they can push.
And they don't really have that solo shriner, like you said, with Dahaka being the split pusher. We're going to see Arthas come in, who's a great solo shriner here, and he's going to be able to help push the Dahaka off. And Koreans will tell you they feel like Arthas is a soft counter to Tyrael. Now, this is, of course, on our current tournament patch. This is not the Arthas that you guys are seeing in Hero League right now, so a little bit different of an Arthas, but it feels like, in a way, if you look back in time and you look at the 2016 Summer Finals in Sweden, where Tempest were champions, you can almost take that kind of drafting style, that type of composition that they were building on this map. They liked Sylvanas there a lot. Duck Sylvanas, super good. And you slap a 2017 sticker on it. The problem is it's got some parts missing. There's not the strong Sonya or the Illidan or the Thrall that you would see on this map. And Li Ming here doesn't gain too much value except in team fighting, but they don't have that much execution. They have Arthas against their Tyrael, which MVP Miracle started drafting against them back in Season 3 of Super League. And once we saw the counters used with the Arthas against the Tyrael several times in Korea, Tyrael fell apart when you didn't have those solid melees. And Dahaka's not the melee you think about to go in there and have the sanctification protect him to do loads and loads of damage.
Yeah, he's not a trailblazer. He's more of a guy that jumps in from behind and kind of spooks you and then takes you out from there with a drag. I think if I were to actually fix this draft slightly, I would get rid of the Li Ming and throw Sergeant Hammer in instead. With at least then you have some T-fight potential, you have poke potential, you can get Arthas to back up a little bit. You can also sit on the side and have protection from your Tyrael and your Malfurion. And the moment that the opposing team tries to go in for the aggressive play, you bring Dahaka in and then have your team set up. With Arthas being here on the last pick, they have an aggressive front line with ETC that can force a fight at any point, especially against a Tyrael. And then you have an Arthas that can watch flanks, but also set up a flank. And honestly, even though you normally don't want Arthas to be barrel charging down the front line, there's not much of a threat on the opposing side that he can actually be aggressive as a frontline tank.
Yeah, and he's not going to have too much of a big problem dealing with the Li Ming damage either. I completely agree the Sergeant Hammer, which we haven't really seen in this tournament, surprisingly, despite its popularity in Korea, would have been a better pick. Let's break down the L5 lineup. Noble S is going to be on ETC. SC, for many years, best Arthas in Korea on that Arthas. Nachogen on the ball this time. Jung-Ah on Zeratol once more, and Swoi on that Ariel to get the hope from Vala, that pairing we've seen so often around the world, so powerful.
L5 showing their strong composition here, all ready to go. In the back we see the team just hanging out, ready to start the matchup. And then on the right side, Tempest with these unorthodox comps in this winner's final, or loser's final. We're gonna have Lockdown playing Li Ming. We're gonna have Duck Duck on Sylvanas, Hyde on Malfurion, Sign with Ethereal, and then Modern Life on Dahaka.
I actually like Modern Life on Dahaka. It makes for a more passive hero. It's more of a split-pushing role, which is not the role he should be playing every time. But I think that with some of his shortcomings mechanically in this tournament, to be totally frank, I feel like it's a hero that suits him really well. This allows Duck Duck to be on Sylvanas, and he's shown an incredibly aggressive Sylvanas back in. I keep referencing this, but this was the year Tempest was strongest. This is the year you think about Duck Duck, 2016. He looked really good there as well, Trick.
We'll see how he looks today. We're going to Infernal Shrines. Infernal Shines, L5 currently up 1-0 over Tempest. Here they are on the left, gonna be representing the blue, and to the far right, it's going to be Tempest in the red. Now, I think my eyes will be on Duck Duck in particular with Sylvanas. You keep mentioning how strong he's been in the past, but also Lockdown on that Li Ming needs to have a heck of a game.
Absolutely, and let's talk about the Sylvanas pick for a little bit. When Sylvanas was meta, back in that summer season of 2016, the Chinese were using her back in spring season, but in summer she became more globally used. She was used oftentimes on this map and on Battlefield of Eternity to empower the objective. So if you have a composition that allows you to get that objective, Sylvanas makes that objective so much stronger. That's why we saw back in summer MVP Black winning games in 5 minutes, 6 minutes, super fast games. But in this game, it's going to be difficult, I feel, for Tempest to take any of these objectives because they don't have a composition that allows them to take it. So Sylvanas is going to have to be used in a different way here. And the question is, how is that going to be? You know, Duck Duck was one of the more aggressive Sylvanas players in the past. You know, you compare to players like Visaka and Yao Yao, he was very similar in playstyle to them as we see this aggressive collapse onto him. There's that early game ETC, going to pick him up before I can even finish explaining his strengths. And SC is going to go down counterwise. Can they turn this? Modern Life wants to, but it's not going to happen. But just to finish this thought, you know, Duck Duck was a player who was more survivable than Kyocha's Sylvanas, for example, that matchup against Black that we saw in the finals. And it just feels like I keep referencing the past, but we just haven't seen him play it in a while. I expect big things from him, but I don't think that the comp allows for him to do well here.
Well, just to throw something out there, and this is, again, just super crazy, Tempest has been playing a little bit on the Orthodox side the last couple of days in terms of games. They have an Ariel on the opposing side, which means there is no cleanse, which suddenly means mind control could be a possibility. Could Tempest try to grab one of those frontline tanks, bring in the moment to a fight, and have Tempest just go in for a huge calamity and have Li Ming get a few resets? That could be the possibility with Tempest playing so odd.
I mean, it's absolutely a possibility, right? I mean, it would be less crazy than what we saw in the draft of Game 1, so anything is certainly possible here for Tempest. They're really bringing out their own flavor, a flavor we've never seen before. It's pretty zesty here, but
It's pretty zesty. I like the way you put that. Definitely a spicy draft. Oh snap! We're gonna have Duck in trouble. Ooh, nice setup for Lockdown. He dropped in the queue, and we saw Sylvanas move in, almost getting a kill on Zhangha. Gonna be able to survive for now, but Tempest is gonna be working towards this shrine phase. And look at it already, 20-1. L5 just clears this so quickly.
certainly do, and you know, it's one of those things where even if that was a bait, where Duck was looking for that with a rotation down of Lockdown, it doesn't matter because they lost so much control of the shrine during this time, and there wasn't even a kill onto Zhangha, so he's now going to rotate over. And Tempest is trying to split push top with Dahaka, but immediately you see the rotation up of SC is going to stop that push, and this is just going to eventually be a one shrine here for L5, and that's going to allow them to easily catch up the tiny EXP deficit they have so far. As Sign is being super aggressive, but in the story of Sign this tournament, will he get picked off here? Zhangha has that foreplay, he's not going to use it, but SC comes in with the Howling Blast. Sign will still escape, but Duck is not so lucky.
I feel really bad for Duck, man. He is constantly getting picked off, just being a sitting duck at the moment for L5. The constant flakes. Arts is coming in at the same time. Zeratil with the aggressive plays. The Punisher is going to be jumping over the wall, moving to the fort. Noblesse leading the charge. Absolutely no fear against this composition as Lockdown attempts to apply DPS to the Punisher.
You know, talking about Sign just really quickly, let's not forget that he's replacing a very different type of tank. Hong Kono was a very careful tank. He was a tank that was known for his scouting, his vision control more than anything else. He's a very different player now, of course, on MVP Miracle, but on Tempest, he played a very safe style before a lot of the changes to Muradin, for example, ETC. And Sign just doesn't fit that same playstyle, so it's tough for him to actually replace such a safe tank with this aggressive playstyle, as we see actually an invade here for L5.
L5 looking to take the Mercs. The Power Slide coming in. Dahaka with the Brushtalker instantly being punished. Lockdown did get some dice damage in the top right corner, but no one being focused down as Sway had a solid amount of hope available to bring out the heals, and they're going to be able to take away that Mercenary camp.
Yep, this gives them a level 7 advantage as well with the pick there onto Dahaka. 3 kills to 1 currently as they win every lane. And Sylvanas, what value is she gaining currently? Perhaps we see something post-10 with either the mind control, which would be rare, or just the also very powerful silence. You know, they're going to get Twilight Dream Sank, which is arguably the most impactful heroic in this entire tournament. It's going to come online at that time as well, but this early game is totally controlled. I mean, there's not a single part of this map, you know, beyond the towers that belongs to Tempest. The map is painted blue for L5 as they take their own mercenary camp, but they could even look to take the neutral camp because they have total vision control as well. Dahaka's not getting value either. He's just defending the top lane. He's not getting any extra soak. And I mean, things just look bad, from bad to worst here for Tempest in this early game.
There is a thought, or at least some credit that you can think about. If there is a moment that they do win a shrine, they have Sylvanas push, they're guaranteed they can get a fort or a keep, which does open up Dahaka to have a more aggressive game to where he can actually control that lane and control the flow. But it is a bit of a miracle shot, a Hail Mary at this point for Tempest as they fall on a full level behind L5. I think at this point you make a play. You either get an aggressive fight and hope that you get a pick down, or you just move in for the big 3-man clear of the entire waves here and just get that experience gap completely cleared out.
I have to completely agree. This has to be the time. You know, they have to actually commit here. They actually have a lead against the Skeletal Defenders, 9-8 currently, a tiny lead. At this point, just lost it. But they're going to use Dahaka and Sylvanas to split push instead. The problem is that still isn't going to get them level 10 first. And Zhangha's going to come in here aggressively and try to get the pick here.
No way.
No way. He's got foreplay, comes over, blinks in. Modern Life is going to actually probably take him out, though. Good counter here. Good defense from Tempest. Regardless, though, they're still going to lose the shrine. And that pick attempt alone protected this wall. So they didn't get the extra pressure they wanted. It's definitely a small consolation prize for Tempest. They got something out of this, but it wasn't what they were looking for. They wanted more here. And yes, they are still working on this wall, but they don't have 10, and they need to defend this Punisher.
Unfortunate. I think Tempest actually had a kill set up on Noblesse there. Hyde was a little bit more aggressive with the root, but Noblesse did a solid amount of dancing back and forth to make it confusing for the root, and he was able to actually outsmart Hyde before he even dropped down the root. Solid play by Noblesse there in a 3v1 scenario, and a spot where he should have been picked off, and he survives.
And you know, he has Mosh Pit. There's no way to set up a fight here alone right now. But if you look at this, yes, a 3-man with Sylvanas can do a ton of damage, but Tyrael can't survive here alone. ETC does go down, so it's a 1-for-1. They're going to get this bot fort. But, you know, perhaps L5 gets even more. The Arcane Punisher, which, by the way, is the strongest for these types of pushes, is going to even start working on this wall. They're going to have a quick rotation down. Tempest needs to be aware of this. They don't have lockdown here. They need to actually Hearth back. You see Duck gets away with the Hearth, and it looks like Dahaka will do the same. But look, 2 forts down for 1-for-1 kills. You can find split push with Sylvanas. You can try to make this work with the wave clear Dahaka has. You could bully the ETC. But when the dust settles, L5 still remains slightly ahead, just like we saw in the previous set.
I will say that trade for Tempest did put them in a good spot. It was a better trade for them with them being behind. They were able to take a fort. They were able to get a couple of their heroics unlocked. Now, they did use Twilight Dream and Wailing Arrow to take out ETC, so ETC did fall. It was a 1-for-1 trade, but they're definitely going to need those heroics for that next fight that should be coming. Now, do look at Void Prison here and Mosh Pit. There is 2 ways to control that, 3 ways. There's Wave of Force for ETC. Zeratul sets up a Void Prison. You can drop down the Wailing Arrow on Bala, so there's no follow-up on the Rain of Vengeance. So there are tools for Tempest to fight here, but it's all about hitting the pixel-perfect silences.
Absolutely, and it's a little bit surprising, in fact, that we would see Mosh Pit into a potential wave of force, not to mention the fact that with that split push potential that we just saw, the amount of value you would gain from the global on ETC, that we actually see this. But it's been a little bit more popular this tournament, not to mention once more, as we've talked about several times this tournament, the placement of roots onto stage dive, which has actually decreased its popularity as players have gotten really good worldwide, actually, at stopping that heroic. So, you know, an interesting choice nonetheless with all these interrupts, but it's important that you note those things as we see a big group up here for L5. And Jungha's looking for a pick. Actually, you can see him near Sylvanas right now, hiding with this push. Looks like it's not going to happen, but this pressure is going to force a rotation down for Tempest. They've already lost this fort wall. And it's a really fortunate spawn for this shrine for L5. They're right next to it. As even a attempted wave of force here to perhaps get a pick just simply falls flat and fails. This is going to be an easy start to these skeletal defenders here for L5. They're going to start working them down. Tempest does get on even talent tiers here. They can try to force a fight. They've got the rogues. Wave of Force is almost up. They've got the silence for Sylvanas. She stays alive. Jungha going in there for the harass.
Watching Duck here for the movement. Dahaka gonna come in. Modern Life on the left side. SCSE a bit there. Gonna have the big containment threat coming out. Modern Life does pop adaptation. Sign on the left side. There is the big Aegis coming out. Syndication pops at the same time. Void Prison being dropped as well here. Sign being focused down. He does jump into the Void Prison, but the power slide into the Mosh Pit. Noblesse will get silenced, but not before Li Ming falls. Tyrael to fall as well.
So much hope here for Soy as well to keep everybody alive. There's the kill. Once more onto Duck. Modern Life on their retreat here. SC looking for the Howling Blast. There it is. Perfect connect here. Noblesse here for the follow-up slide. Nice dodge here by Modern Life. And he actually gets the burrow off, but it won't matter. In fact, actually extends his own death timer as a result. Now this Frozen Punisher is pushing the bot lane. And it starts to feel like this second series of L5 versus Tempest ends up being potentially just as one-sided as the first. And I can't fault mechanically the play of Tempest here. I just feel like they've chosen specific drafts and strategies that have not come to fruition. And they may be, with this drafting, digging their own graves here in this loser's finals just simply because it's not working out for them, Trick.
Yeah, L5 continues the pressure too, just because it is working out for them. Breaking down the turrets here, getting level 16, looking to get a pickup. If they can take down Duck or Lockdown, they can maybe push for a core here this early in the game. However, they will not take that opportunity as Tempest makes sure to defend in a passive manner. Now, Dahaka's in the top lane, working on getting level 16. Oh, Sign here has been spotted. Noblesse brings out the big knockback. There goes the lockdown, and we're going to have Tyrael focused down and killed.
Why would Sign be there without Sank? He had 25 seconds to go on it when he went for this flank. Perhaps he was hoping that he wouldn't go unnoticed and that L5 would overextend. Perhaps he could allow a Sanctification there for Duck to come and do extra damage. Then the resets would come in for lockdown. You can see the thought process there. With Sanctification on cooldown, this simply does not work. L5 finds him there, tricks him, traps him, turns the trap on its head, and they're going to take a keep wall with him here with their level 16 advantage. 17 now with the 16 talent tier. They even have these Impalers pushing. and they're going to be able to use that pressure to steal this Shaman camp on the way out and force Dahaka out of the top lane. And L5 just looks like a godlike team in terms of their rotations right now. Part of this, again, goes back to the draft, but I have to keep asking the same question. With what Tempest has drafted, where we are in this game, how do they come back? It's a tough question to answer.
Well, there is a saving grace. They haven't lost keeps yet, which is good news for them. Secondly, at level 16, they do get the vulnerability on Sylvanas. They also get Holy Ground, so suddenly you have divide and conquer strategies that can work. So if they can get a Holy Ground around a corner, now L5 shouldn't play aggressive in those areas, but if they do, Tempest does have decent tools to get that focus down and actually take off a member. Arthas and ETC in particular will be ahead of their team, just because they're one that's at the front line, which opens up that Holy Ground. So Sign, with his aggressive play, can work out, but he has to communicate with his team, which we have not seen a real example of that yet.
And he actually has to get 16 first, too. He's not there
Yes.
yet. You know, he's so close. He's about a third of the way away from it right now. 15, fastly approaching 16 now. And they're actually going to make a quick rotation down here just to clear one time. But as this happens, L5 is going to get that extra pressure of this Shaman camp, which is going to be pushing during the Shrine, which they already have a setup on. Noblesse in good positioning here. Duck very far forward. There's no follow-up. Just going to rotate back into the Shrine. Holy Ground now available. And they're going to look for a pick. Jungha here does get caught, has to back away. This could be a make-or-break fight. If they lose this, if they get wiped, this could be a win for L5. So Tempest, this is their moment. This is their time on even Talonteers.
Yes, this is definitely their moment. At 9, we asked for a play. Nothing really came out, but this is the moment where we definitely need something to happen or a keep will certainly fall, and there may be a loss here in the horizon for Tempest. Now, watch Modern Life and Sign. These are the two members that will set up anything for their team. Sign on the left side. He does move in. The Eldruin could be available here for that Holy Ground. Will he drop it? He drops it on the left side. Noblesse steps forward. SC on the right side. Power slide. Heading straight into Dahaka. The cleanse will come out perfectly. Hyde will use Silence and Arts from the back left. Jungha comes in from the right. He does have Void Prison available. He's looking for it. He's going to hit two members. Duck is focused down and taken out.
Very critically, he gets it on Sign, which means no sanctification. He goes down trying to use it. Unfortunately, not successful here. They do get the kill onto Jungha, but 3 dead and a Mortar Punisher here as Hyde with no mana, as again just simply going to try to buy time here again as well. Prolongs his own death timer as now he goes
That
down.
timing by Soy, by the way, was perfect for that Attainment Strike.
And now this push likely goes to core as this Mortar Punisher gets free damage to the keep. There's no one to contest this as L5 looks to march their way to match point here in this loser bracket finals. On the core now, Modern Life doing what he can to at least draw the aggro of that Mortar Punisher, but with all the damage and support they have here, Sway with full hope currently, it's going to be a tough defense for Tempest.
Well, Li Ming is here in 0 seconds, so here she is. Can she get a combo on SC? Nope, SC plays the sidestep, does miss out on the Q, and that is going to be it for Tempest, as they're going to go down 0-2 in the series. One more win for L5, and they will be able to move into the grand finals to face off against MVP Black. But after that match as Tempest, you got to be feeling deflated.
Absolutely. There's always been, in Korea, somewhat of a tiering. And until the Gold Club World Championship, we never got to see 3 Korean teams at an international event at once. So this is the second time we see this. And normally, at these types of events, you have the 2 S-tier teams. And you look at them and you go, okay, anyone could win the tournament. It could be either one. Sometimes you don't even see both of them in the finals. If you look back at BlizzCon, Fnatic threw an upset our way. When you looked at MVP Miracle in the World Club, or the Gold Club World Championship, they actually outperformed MVP Black and ended up getting second. For Tempest, you look at this as this third team once more. You know, are they going to take the A to an S? And so far, they just haven't been able to do it. They may just simply go down 0-6 against this superior team so far.
Yeah, and this weekend, because again, already we've seen L5 walk away with an easy 3-0, and this is looking like it's going to be a repeat again. Tempest has to dive deep. Something has to come out of them here that would really throws off their opponents. And now looking over into the MVP, Nachogen will be able to walk away with it here on that ball of play. And yeah, when you think about it in that matchup, obviously he had Ariel as a heal bot in the background with that constant battery of damage coming out, but Nachogen didn't really have a mistake that entire match.
Nope. Good positioning all throughout. You know, it wasn't SC on the Volley this time, as you know, I didn't get to talk about it too much, but in Korea, SC had, I believe, 2 or 3 top Arthas accounts worldwide on Hot Slogs, right? This was a guy who was just known for Arthas. Everyone in Korea praised his Arthas, and it was a big of a shock for many when he changed role to main assassin. Played a good Arthas there as well, which we don't see all too often. Nitrogen plays a good Vala. And you have a standard, solid draft, with the exception of Arthas. He used a little tweak there to the draft, but otherwise a pretty standard draft. 2 back-to-back unusual draft for Tempest. I feel like in Game 3, at least give us one attempt to just go in head-on with something that's pretty traditional, pretty normal. Try to do a straight-up game, if you will, against this team.
Fight with even footing and see where you stand against L5. We'll find out what happens in game number 3. We'll be right back. This is the HGC Eastern Clash.
The reviews are in, and the critics agree. Overwatch is a perfect 10.
Psst, what are you looking at?
It's time to pick a side.
Overwatch. Play it now on PC and console. Rated T for teen.
Ah, Gadget Sand. Gadget Sand, where the gangs rule the streets. Gadget Sand, full of swindlers and cheats. Set on sail, a ring-a-ding-ding on the mean streets of Gadget Sand. Welcome to the big time, pal. On the mean streets of Gadget Sand. Now who's got the upper hand?
Legion is the WoW